Welcome to Speak with Purpose, a celebration of thought and influence, where bold ideas ignite action. Join Christine Gagnon and the TEDxCatawba community in shaping the future.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christine Gagnon, founder and organizer of TEDxCatawba. We're here today to introduce one of our STEAM speakers for our 2025 event to be held in Hickory, North Carolina on June 14th at the Drendel Auditorium. I'm joined today by Dr. Kathy Wilson. She is medical director of the Sleep Center and Respiratory Department of Catawba Valley Medical Center. A former medical technologist, she pursued her medical degree at age 43, specializing in pulmonary, critical care, and sleep medicine. Board certified in multiple specialties, Dr. Wilson also directs the School of Respiratory Technology at Catawba Valley Community College and remains active in state and local medical organizations. Welcome, Dr. Wilson. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So I want to give our audience a little bit of a sneak peek in terms of behind the curtain. So not only are you a fabulous doctor and a prominent member of our community, you're my neighbor and you're also my good friend. So I just wanted to express my gratitude to you before we kick off for sharing your story. I think it's really important.
And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Awesome. Well, it was near and dear to my heart, especially. I think there's two things that came to mind. One was that I was 43 when we talked about doing this talk, and I've had this like secret itch to go back to medical school just because it's the dream I've had and I've never done. So I'm living vicariously through you. And I also think that it's an important time for you because 2025 is when I think we said you'll be retiring, going part-time. Is that right?
That's correct. Full
So
time to
that
part time, but not totally retiring.
That is amazing. I'm so excited for you. So I want to give our audience a little bit of flavor for your talk. I don't want to give away too much, but I want to talk about this desire to do something different, to go back to school. And along those lines, did you always know you wanted to be a doctor, or was this something you sort of discovered along the way?
From as long as I can remember, I always wanted to go into medicine. As I grew up, what I wanted to do in medicine changed, but the desire never weakened any at all.
So you wanted to go into medicine since you were younger, but you went along that path because you were in the medical technology kind of path for a while. And so was there something along the way where you were like, all right, I love medicine. I'm going to kind of go into the lab side of things. And then you're like, well, no, actually, I really do want to pursue this different path of, going down and being a physician.
Correct. The BS degree in medical technology was a second choice, which I thought would satisfy me my whole life, but I found out later that it did not. I really regretted that I had never stepped out and pursued a medical degree, and that's basically what my talk is about.
One of the things that I think about when I think about your journey and what you did before you went to medical school and after is maybe the difference in the interaction with the patient. So I don't want to lead the witness here, but like what are some of the things that you love about what you do? Is it the interactions with patients? What is it that really speaks to you about this career?
As a medical technologist in the laboratory, you were not allowed to discuss test results with patients. You were not in a position to interpret those tests, and you were not in a position to share any results at all. So I did that for 23 years, keeping my mouth shut. And it was very freeing to finally become a doctor and finally be able to discuss those same results, those same numbers, those same tests that I had done for over 20 years as a medical technologist.
That's really interesting. I always say if I ever decide to change my career, and this is sort of talking out of my behind, but I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, I'd be a surgeon because I don't have to talk to anyone. But it's not really
Well,
true. You do, right? You
you
definitely do. Um, that's just my being naive. So I love that. I think that makes complete sense because you're in the lab and you're working around, medicine and that is the field, but you don't get that sort of interaction with the patient and the human component as much. You don't see
correct.
like the full life cycle end to end. Um, I think I told you this before, but my husband and I have been watching this TV show. What is it called? I think it's called, no, I don't want to get, oh, it's called The Pit. It's called The Pit. And I don't think that, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but
I
it
have
gives
not.
this like incredibly just illustrative storyline of a day in the ER, and the whole season is filmed about one day. And I know that you do work in the ER, if I'm not mistaken. And so, can you talk about the intensity of that? Is it what we think it is? You know, when we watch movies and we see just chaos and order both happening at the same time.
Uh, Real life is not exactly like you see on TV. In fact, I very seldom watch medical shows. It's not that scripted. It's not that exciting moment to moment. A lot of exciting things happen, but thank goodness they're spread out more than you see on TV.
Yes, yes, because I was saying to my husband John, I'm like, gosh, I think I'd be so tired I couldn't sleep, and I would just be like in constant stress mode. Speaking of stress mode, so your specialty is in sleep, critical care, and pulmonary, which means that you were very active during COVID. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like to live through? It was so scary, and I just remember it being an overwhelming time, and I can't imagine stepping into your shoes during that time and what it was like.
It was a difficult time for all healthcare workers, regardless of what your job was in the hospital. It was difficult. As a critical care physician, we became we had time to really learn the patients. Once a patient got on the ventilator with COVID, they had a very, very high mortality rate. They would be on the ventilator for 2 to 3 weeks, and about 80 to 90% of the time, they would die on the ventilator. During that 2 to 3 weeks, you knew the patient, you learned their life story, you met their spouse, you met their children, you even knew the name of their dog. And so it was very, very personal when you lost a patient. You didn't lose a patient, you were losing a friend. You were losing somebody, you had been accepted into their family, you were one of their family members. And knowing there was very little, if anything, you could do, you could see the end ahead, and there was nothing you could do to stop it. A lot of healthcare workers today talk very little about their experience because it's still very hard for everyone.
Mm. It sort of brings me back to your comment on, in some ways it's wonderful to know the patient and to deliver the results. But on the other hand, when you have such an extreme situation like COVID, it then just becomes, I don't know, I don't know how I would bring myself through that. Do you have any secrets on how you dealt with that, right? Because I imagine you lost a few patients
Right.
during COVID. Is there a secret to sort of coping and working through that?
Well, you try to compartmentalize your life. You have a work life and you have a home life. But I will admit that during COVID, often those got intertwined. You would certainly bring thoughts of your patients home with you. It was just a very difficult time. It was a time I would dream at night managing ventilators and wake up in a sweat. Uh, you definitely took your work home with you during their times, but hopefully compartmentalizing, trying to leave work at work helped some. Also, working in a critical care, working in a hospital, it often makes your personal problems seem mighty small.
I think we talked about in a separate context, the support of your spouse can be tremendously impactful, whether it's going back to school or, coming home and having a really tough day. So I know your husband, he's wonderful. So I'm sure that he sort of helped you through that as well.
Oh, definitely. Going back to school, he was my rock, and during COVID, he was my rock. And it's been more than one time he knew I had a bad day. And when I got home, he would either have dinner ready, or one time he had gone and bought some fish bait and handed me a fishing pole. And I just went down to the boathouse and sat and fished by myself for a little while. He just seems to
Oh,
always know the best thing to help me unwind and help me keep that compartmentalization between work and home.
I love that story. That's so wonderful. John was in the garden yesterday and I drove by. I don't remember what I was doing, but he was in the yard doing some yard work and I saw him carrying like one single rose cut from the rose bush.
Oh,
And I pulled up and he's like, I got you a flower. And,
oh, how
whatever
sweet.
else was, irritating me that day, I'm like, I don't even care, right? These are the most important things in life. And so I
Yes.
completely agree. And I love that fishing story. That's fabulous. Um, Maybe talking a little bit, I'm intentionally jumping around, but one of the things I've learned, I broke my foot, as I told you. I fell down the
Yes.
stairs at TED. No good. And I'm healing. And one of the things that I have learned is that I may have been maybe overtraining from like a cardio perspective because my resting heart rate was higher and, I was doing like 1 to 2 hours of cardio a day and I wasn't getting enough sleep. And knowing that sleep is one of your specialties, I wanted to ask your perspective on just how important you believe sleep is today and whether you think, we're getting enough. I think I know the answer, but I'd love your perspective since it's your specialty.
Well, I think one of the most important things we can do for ourselves, for our overall health, mental and physical, for our level of productivity, is to assure that we get regular sleep, adequate sleep at about the same time every day on a regular basis. Everyone needs 7 to 9 hours of sleep once you reach young adulthood. Between young adulthood and the grave, you need 7 to 9 hours of consolidated sleep at about the same time every 24 hours. That's the time when your body recovers. That's the time when you consolidate memory. That's the time that you give your body that downtime and your muscles that downtime. It's very important. Sleep deprivation is a very bad thing in our society. I'm old enough to remember that the television went off at 12 o'clock. You couldn't go to Walmart, Walgreens, Waffle House in the middle of the night. There was nothing to do. You stayed home, you went to sleep. Now, it takes a lot of self control to turn off the screens, turn off the telephone, turn off the TV, and go to sleep because there's so many things that compete for our time. And that competition occurs 24 hours a day, where used to it didn't. We are
Yeah.
very sleep deprived as a society.
I feel that, except, having the broken foot forced me to slow down and my resting heart rate dropped by like 18 beats per minute in a matter of 2 weeks. I was like, oh my God, was I stressed out? I think I was. And
Uh,
like I'm slowing down and I'm kind of resetting. So I would agree with that. One of our other speakers too talks about the importance of sleep. And in fact, he's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he talks about how the sleep deprivation actually leads to real deterioration in mental health. And some of the pieces of his talk really go down a pretty dark place for some of his friends who have dealt with, I think, 5 days of no sleep and those types of things. I
mm,
just can't even imagine. I'm also one of the culprits of I can't get off my phone at night. So, is
oh,
it really that bad for you?
yes, it
Okay,
really is.
great. Even with the night, like orange screen on, less blue light, it's still bad for me.
Right. There's a
Darn.
at least 1 hour to 2 hours before you go to bed, you should be screen free. That's
Gosh, that's hard to
TV, that's
practice.
telephone, that's iPad, that's screen free for at least 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed, just to allow your melatonin level to allow your body to reset.
Do you follow
Even
that?
I do. Even a screen, I try to, even a screen in the room that you're not looking at. So it's recommended that you cover your computer. If you have a computer in the bedroom, cover it so that screen is not, you cannot see it at night when you get in bed.
Really? And is that from just there might be some flickering light, or is it
Right.
just
The flickering,
psychological?
both the flickering light and then the fact that it's on and you're missing something, or you think you may
I
be missing
see.
something.
So it's the FOMO here. I definitely have
Mm,
FOMO. You're right. I'm like, I don't know. I also, this is so strange. John always says, put your phone away when you're sleeping. I understand that, but I don't know how else to like unwind. Does that sound strange? Like I'm not the kind of cup of tea kind of gal. So like I don't know what to do to unwind. I don't read books, and so it becomes this conundrum of like, how do I relax? And
How do you
you know,
entertain
usually
yourself for an hour or two before you go to bed?
exactly to yeah, I don't know what to
Music,
do.
conversation. Maybe that's a time to reconnect with John.
That's a good point. I like this. Although he might not like the conversation part, but that's okay. Well, maybe it's time to get a Kindle. Does a Kindle apply, or that's still breaking the rules?
The Kindle and the Nook supposedly have a screen that you can make more like a page in a book so that you actually have to have an exterior light in order to see it well.
Hmm.
But still, that's not ideal. Better than an iPhone, better than a fully lit iPad, but still not ideal. The book with real pages in it is probably a much better option than any type of reader right before you go to bed.
I thought you might say that. Well, thank you. I appreciate your honesty. I'll try to do better. I remember when you and I we were sitting at the clubhouse and it was still busy days. Like I think it was post COVID, so we were like allowed to see our family and friends. And even though it was extremely busy, you still showed up and still spent time with us. And we talked about the importance of spouses and partners and things like that. But it seems to me like our girls group is important to you. Does that play a role in kind of helping your ecosystem balance? Tell me more about the importance of that circle because
Oh,
I love that you showed up even after the longest of days and still wanted to have a laugh and share beverage together. That was awesome.
and I think that's one of the driving reasons for me to want to go from full time to part time. Now I can see that I am not doing a lot of the things I enjoy time with friends, time with family, time on social outings. I've gradually let that go and I miss it. So being with friends is very important. And I'm hoping to regain that now that in the next couple of months I will gradually back down on the amount I'm working.
Well, I will supplement with a party because after TEDx, we're probably gonna have a party
Oh, I like
because it's
that.
we're gonna have to celebrate this wonderful accomplishment. Speaking of which, we were at the clubhouse. I think we were sharing a glass of wine together, different glasses of a bottle of wine, and I had said, like, what do you think about coming on the TEDx stage? And you said yes. So maybe share with our audience a little bit about what inspired you to take the stage, why now? And what are you most excited about in terms of stepping up on the red dot?
Well, I'm scared to death. And I remember telling you that day that I would with coaching, and you have been very giving of your time and your comments and your education and trying to get me ready for TEDx. I had watched some TEDx lectures. I was always impressed with the subjects. I was always impressed with the speakers. And the fact that you asked me to do something that was over a year away, I can always agree to something that's that far away. Now that it's getting closer and closer and closer, my anxiety level is going up. I'm looking forward to it. I feel like it's a wonderful opportunity. Doing something that makes you nervous is a good thing.
I agree. It's like that continuous growth, the growth mindset. And you're right. I'm such a planner. So I remember planning this. I was actually planning it in May before I even got the license because I'm like, I need probably more than a year to feel comfortable. We can pull everything off. And it's not as much, the speakers because everyone's brilliant, but it's all the little details, the venue, the screens, the lighting, the sound, the sponsors. So it's been quite a journey for me as well. So you're going to talk a little bit about on the stage your journey through your career, which again I think it's such an amazing time for that because of this transition that you have planned coming in the summer, essentially right around the TEDx time. So are you hoping there's a certain again without giving away secrets here on the talk, but is there a certain message or feeling that you want the audience to have or take away that would make you happy and say, this is really a success?
Well, my dream, my experience, my career almost didn't happen. And it's always very interesting to look back and see how events occurred, how events came about, what small pieces different people played, not realizing what an impact they had. So I think we should always be mindful of what we can do or say, what we do and say to others and with others, because we never know how far reaching our responses or our actions will be. And it's seldom too late to try something new.
I agree with you. And you brought up a wonderful memory of I worked at PwC for a number of years in my early career. And I always have these little pangs of should I have been a partner, an audit partner? And they come up probably once every 6 months. But it used to be I couldn't shut them down. I would have these days at a time where I'm like, oh my God, I chose the wrong thing and I didn't do the right career path. And I didn't even want to be, no offense to accountants, like I didn't really want to be an accountant. So then why would I be a partner? Right. And so it just kind of got all twisted up. And then I realized one day, and someone asked me, do you have like regrets and would you change anything? And I think about where I am now. And then I think about this, I wanted to be an audit partner thing. And then I think, no, because I'm quite happy with where I am. And to your point, all the little pieces that helped me get to where I am today, I'm so happy with so many of the elements of my life. And, maybe would I tweak this or tweak that? Sure, I guess. Would I want to be a partner at PwC? I don't really think so anymore. I do have that pang. But the point is, changing one little detail could like make the whole house of cards as I have built it, maybe not a house of cards, but like fall apart because you don't know what little change. I'll give you an example, and I'm kind of all over the place, but I was asked to go to Johannesburg to do a short-term secondment with work. And that sort of caused me to leave California and sell my house. And because I made that move, I then got the opportunity to go to London. And then I met John. And then because I was in London, I got the job in New York. And like you kind of do this whole, plotting the path. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so delicate that if you touch one thing, it could just change everything. And so I love that it's never too late. And I also love this feeling of kind of no regrets. Do you subscribe to that or is that just a pile?
Well, I think some regrets along the way push us to continue to grow and to continue to change. I think just watching you in your profession, you're always growing, you're always changing, you're always moving forward. And I think I'm always been impressed with that.
Oh, well, thank you. I still don't know where I'm going and what I'm doing, but I think if we're moving, if I'm moving and I'm doing things that are exciting and I'm learning, as you know, I love learning and I love school, so that's what I plan to do. And this undertaking with TEDx is one of those things where I felt like it was the right time, and it's going to be very exciting to try something different. So, with that, Dr. Wilson, Kathy, I wanted to thank you so much for joining us today. We are honored to have you as one of our lovely speakers at TEDxCatawba, and we will plan to see you in June.
And I'm looking forward to it. Practicing.
Yes, indeed.
Thank
all right.
you.
Thank you. To all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Tune in next week for another episode of Speak with Purpose to get insights into our speakers, sponsors, and partners for TEDxCatawba. You can also learn more about our independently organized TEDx event and purchase your tickets on our website, TEDxCatawba.com. We're also on social media. It's TEDxCatawba. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. Thank you so much and see you next week.